25% of our students identify with the Christian Catholic faith. So it's kind of this piece of the pie there. Many students come from no faith background at all, or other faith backgrounds and practices too. More of what that Jesuit identity means is our mission. So our mission highlights a few different parts: educating the whole person, professional formation, and empowering leaders for a more just and humane world. Many students who come to SU reflect those values that they find in the mission, and it's that mission that's really foundational to how we approach education at SU and how we serve our students. One way to highlight a new update with our university is that we're the first Jesuit university to fully divest in fossil fuels as of this past year in 2023. And that was a student-led effort over various years past at SU through environmental justice efforts on campus that led our administration to divest from fossil fuels. So that's a really exciting update from us. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here. My name is Sean Antrim. I'm one of the senior admission counselors here with Pacific Lutheran University down in Tacoma. I know Tacoma is not always everyone's first choice when they're thinking of college, but I am a recent transplant myself from the East Coast, and I have found Tacoma has a lot to offer. So we have some great restaurants, museums, beach parks, typically half the traffic of Seattle. So we are a smaller university, but we do have over 80 programs to choose from. Oftentimes for our programs, there's direct admission, so we can be a good alternative option for students that may get into the university of their choice, but not into the program of their choice. If you apply to PLU and are admitted, you can get into the program of your choice very easily with direct admission. Nursing is really our only competitive program, but we do offer 3 different ways to get into nursing as well. So one of our core values is accessibility. On top of accessibility, with that, we are a very unconventional private university where 1/3 of our student population are first-gen students. And we also have just over 45% students of color on campus. So definitely room to grow there, but we were very excited to see our incoming class this past year was over 60% students of color. So you definitely see a level of diversity you may not always see at other private universities. Some updates from us aside from that too is that it is an unfortunate time to be a senior this year. If any of you are seniors or have seniors at home, so we have actually pushed back our admission decision date from May 1st to June 1st to give students more time. I believe our financial aid offer should roll out in mid to late March. So that'll give students extra time to decide where they want to go, costs. Again, with costs, private universities can be very expensive, but you will find a lot of private universities will offer sometimes more scholarships than even your state schools. So we have over 13 in-house scholarships, some that'll get students up to full tuition as well. And lastly, along with that, I also wanted to say that we have just started a partnership with the Bellevue School District. So if you're a student that is interested in PLU, all you have to do is fill out an interest form. If you're at a weighted GPA of 3.3 or higher and have taken 3 math classes over the course of your high school experience, you can have automatic admission to Pacific Lutheran University. It's kind of like the GAP program, but even with some less hurdles. So again, it kind of goes back to one of our core values of accessibility for students, and every student that's admitted gets to start out with an academic scholarship, a housing grant, so it can just kind of increase students' options for sure. Thanks for having us.
All right. Long wait is over. It is finally St. Martin's turn. I'm Svetlana Sergoj, and I'm the Associate Director of Admissions for St. Martin's University. Our campus is located on 300 acres. Located just south of here in Lacey, Washington.
And I'm Chelsea Christ. I am the admissions counselor for King County for St. Martin's University. So for any students that are thinking about applying or have applied, I'm the best point of contact for questions about your application, questions about financial aid, if you want to visit campus, all that good stuff. These are the programs that we currently offer. Our newest program being Women's Gender and Ethnic Studies. So you can kind of take a look at the different programs that we have on campus. I do like to point out that our business, administration, accounting, and then both our engineering, computer science, and IT, those are all 4+1 programs. So you can get your bachelor's and your master's in the accelerated program in 5 years. which is awesome. My brother's a mechanical engineer. He did his bachelor's in 5. So it's really awesome to have that opportunity, and it's all on campus. You don't have to, switch any school in that process.
One exciting update we have is St. Martin's University was selected to receive a $296,000 grant from the M.J. Murdoch Charitable Trust of Vancouver, Washington. What this grant will basically do is it will support expanding the program, the capacity of the program, adding a nursing classroom space on campus to kind of expand the entire program in general. But that will also include augmenting the capacities of the simulation and learning labs available. Nursing applications for the 24-25 year just closed on February 1st, but will reopen again for the fall school year.
These are merit scholarships that we offer. Every single student gets one of these, and they're based on this GPA scale. So when you read your application, we'll take a look at your transcript, and you'll be assigned one of our scholarships. They've increased by $2,000 this year, which is pretty cool. So now they range from $12,000 to $28,000. Every student gets one as long as you maintain a 2.0 GPA while you're at St. Martin's. That will recur each year.
Similar to PLU, we also have a direct admissions partnership. We currently have 48 schools that we are partnered with to offer this quick and easy way to get directly admitted into St. Martin's University. You have to be on track to graduate high school. You have to have an unweighted GPA of 3.0 or higher, and you must complete intermediate algebra or algebra 2 by the end of your senior year. To learn a little bit more, you guys can scan it. You can talk to us a little bit after as well to find out if your school has that partnership.
And then some other updates. Our guidance basketball team is got nationally ranked, which is pretty cool. We're D2, so that's awesome. We are a Benedictine university, so we have a Benedictine Scholars Program. So if you've already applied, you're a senior and you were above a 3.2 GPA, you were invited to apply for the scholarship. You write an essay, you come to our Benedictine Scholars Day, you could potentially get a $10,000 a year scholarship, which is awesome. So be looking in your email if you are a student that applied already and you meet that GPA threshold. And then FAFSA delay is going to cause a delay in our financial aid award. So very similar to the other institutions, I'm sure you'll find this trend. We're going to push back to June 1 for decisions. We'll be very communicative with you along the process. And St. Martin's offers individual financial aid talks to students. So we'll be communicating with you about when this will happen.
And then just a really quick slide of all of our admissions team counselors. Chelsea is the primary person of contact for the King County area, but we're all available to talk to you guys. One thing that's great that you guys should know is just by visiting our campus, you get a $500 visit award, scholarship award for students that come to St. Martin's later. That's a 5-year account. Thank you.
Awesome. Now we're going to open it up for Q&A. So I'll open it up to you all. If anybody online or in person has any questions, we kind of typed out some questions.
Here's you said a 3.3 weighted, so are you taking the AP classes and bumping them up a grade? Or
Yeah, so, and you guys all do weighted as well?
Unweighted for us.
And the district above your school district is unweighted.
Okay, so we'll do the weighted on our end. But yes, students that have honors, AP, IB courses, you're basically, getting rounded up for extra points for sure. So yeah, so if it's that automatic admission and you're at a 3.2, but you're a student with several honors or AP courses, most likely the GPA will come in, higher than that 3.3. And the same goes with our academic scholarships that are based off the GPAs. Those with AP, IB honors, you're just looking at a higher academic scholarship.
A lot of colleges do recalculate GPAs. We recalculate every GPA. So even, and I think that's a really common trend. Some don't, but a lot of us do, just so we can put everyone on the same playing field. So even though actually the state of Washington does not weight their grades on the public side, many of us, when we say weighted grades, we know that first of all, and then we will account for that in a recalculation. Or even if they're not recalculating, they take that into account because they know that that's a state policy.
Yeah, that's a good question. Anyone else?
How quickly are weighted
SAT scores? Because I know that some universities are score blind or like they read them less heavily than GPAs. So like all of, I guess all. Like how is it?
So St. Martin's, oh yeah, so the student was just asking how much SAT or ACT scores are considered in the admissions process. St. Martin's, you don't have to submit your SAT or ACT scores as part of your admissions packet. You can choose to add those if you think it will help you to kind of counteract maybe a lower GPA, for example, or just to kind of show that you've really gone above and beyond in a different capacity.
At Redlands, we also are test optional. This past year, about 25% of our students gave us test scores, which means 75% did not. I've actually only worked for test optional institutions for 20 some odd years, variety of different schools. Test optional has been around since the 1960s. It seems like it's a new thing. It's actually not. Bowdoin College, fun fact, has been more test optional longer than the required tests, which they are the first college that went test optional in the US. So I tell students, decide individually. I think we are all test optional on the panel here, but you might send your scores to one school and not to another, because a good first question to ask is, what is the average test score of the school that you're looking at for an admitted student? And you might discover, oh, it would be helpful for me to send it to X college, but maybe not to another one. So that's kind of a good first question to ask. You also have your school counselors and the College and Career Center that can also provide some good advice too.
Yeah, a few things to be taken into consideration. One good usage of your lingo there. Some schools are what's called test blind. We're test optional at Seattle University. Some with that difference, if you submit those tests, we can't not look at them, if that makes sense. So if you do submit them, we will look at those test scores and they will be part of your admission review process. So definitely it's an intentional decision when you're opting into tests or opting out of them. I've had a number of students in the past couple of years who will opt into tests, but then will email and say, oh, well, I didn't really like my test score, so I don't want to submit them. Unfortunately, for us in the process, if you opt in, we do require you to send those in after you take those tests. So definitely an intentional decision. Also with direct entry programs, some, such as ours in nursing, business, and in the engineering programs, have a math score minimum in that subsection. So if you're submitting those test scores, I double check with the university and the program you might be applying to make sure that you at least hit that minimum, because nothing makes me more sad when there's a really strong student, maybe on the bad test day, and they submitted those scores and they don't meet those minimums, which might mean you're admissible to direct entry to that program.
And that's where getting to know your admission counselors at any of the universities can be helpful. Kind of like Seattle U, our nursing program can be competitive to get in. If you do submit SAT scores and they're not, as great as other candidates, it can hurt your chances of admission. Whereas if you just left them out of the whole the conversation to begin with. So I know for students that apply to PLU, usually they'll send them to the counselors first, just to be like, this is kind of the range I'm in. Should I submit these with my nursing application? And we kind of can give them a, off the record response to like yes or no, just leave those out. So, but similar to you guys, yeah, about 80% of our students do not submit test scores. It can depend on regionally where you're applying to. I work with a lot of out-of-state students, so I do see like around the Midwest region, I do see a lot of those universities can require SAT scores, but and we actually call it test never required. We changed it this year because oftentimes parents and students, you think we're saying test optional, but we're secretly really wanting to see them. It really is test optional. So we're hoping this year when we say test never required, you truly all believe us.
Anyone else? Anybody online?
No.
I'll go ahead and ask a question. So academic strength of the transcript, how important is it? AP versus college and high school classes versus core classes, and is there a specific number of AP classes recommended?
Yeah, I think we talked in the last session, it depends is going to be a common answer from all of us, and that can depend on the major you're applying to. I often see Oftentimes see applicants that are computer science majors do not do well in math. Unfortunately, a lot of computer science in our major is mathematics. So, you know, those kind of can be factored into consideration. AB, IB honor courses, yes, they can help with admission, they can help boost academic scholarship, but it depends on the student and how well you do there. So that's something to consider as well. If you are going through those more difficult courses and struggling in them and your grades are dropping, then taking just regular courses can be okay for an applicant.
A lot of people also ask, you know, what's the most important part of your application? And it is your transcript. You're applying for academic admission, and that transcript gives us that 4-year map that we can take a look at. And you also hear a lot of challenge yourself. You know, take the most challenging curriculum. There's actually another word to that phrase, which is take the most challenging curriculum appropriate to you. And I think it's really easy to forget those last few words, and all you hear is more is better. And sometimes more just means more, and you're really struggling as a student, or your child is struggling. And so think about what your strengths are and play to that. If you're looking to challenge yourself, that's where you're going to challenge yourself. Or you're looking at an academic discipline that is in the sciences, so you're going to challenge yourself in that way and take those honors or AP. And your best friend is doing the exact opposite, and they're planning on being humanities. So English and history is where they really shine. But again, as Sean said, if you're really struggling, it always makes me sad when I see a student that has put all of their effort into that challenge bit and taken a full load of APs or running start and really struggled, and well, it's going to get better next time, so I want to just keep going with that. When maybe meeting with their school counselor, and they are great resources to help you readjust your schedule that's going to make you the most successful student, not even applicant to college, but just a successful high school experience and a positive high school experience. They're there to help you with that. And so don't think I have to do all of it. Sometimes it might just be a small adjustment that's really going to pay off in terms of your happiness and your health. And then ultimately, potentially also, do you think about your pathway after your high school career?
I think earlier in the earlier session, one of you mentioned like, what was it, really important, the number of AP classes, what was it? It was really good. So as a school counselor, and because the semester just ended, we get a lot of seniors who are really struggling in their AP courses and asking to drop second semester because they're really struggling. They don't want the low grade to affect their GPA. And so what we always tell them is, have you heard back from any schools you've applied to? We recommend reaching out to them and getting their advice. And so do you guys want to share a little bit about that too?
That was me. So right now we hear from a lot of seniors, especially because we know the semester just ended in the state of Washington for most high schools. And a student reached out and she was needing to take a lesser load. She actually had a recent injury. And so was going to miss a bunch of school. And I said, absolutely. And so I checked and made sure that she had still met our minimum requirements. And so dropping one course was really going to help her out. And that's a positive thing. I will say for those of you that are maybe sophomores or juniors and also needing to readjust your schedule, I see that. If maybe you've struggled in a particular course in it. And so again, making an adjustment. So second semester, you're taking the straight college prep, and first semester you were maybe taking running start. Absolutely, that's where you start balancing yourself out a little bit.
Sorry, I was just going to quickly add that with respect to direct entry programs, you're going to want to double check about course prerequisites. So if you are really set on pursuing the Bachelor's of Science in Nursing at an institution, check what science courses, what math courses you need to be taking in high school. For us, we don't require it to be AP calculus, but we're going to look for those 4 years of college preparatory math. Those could all be standard classes, but those are some things to be thinking about. Do they require biology, chemistry in a lab? Is it physics? So that could change for college, but another plug to get to know your admissions counselor.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question about merit-based aid. So I think we're very transparent and it's very clear for you, it's the GPA. What about you? What is really most important for merit-based aid?
Did you have anything else you wanted to add? Yeah, I think we covered it. At the University of Redlands,
Sorry to interrupt. Do you guys want to repeat the question?
sure. The question is about merit aid and how it comes into play. And yes, you guys did a great job of outlining merit aid. And I think most colleges have a pretty transparent of what aid is available on the merit side. We review every student application for merit scholarships. There's no additional application that we need for that. Our scholarships range up to $36,000 per year. We do also have some full tuition scholarships as well. And it is going to be based on your transcript and if you decide to send in your SAT or ACT scores. We don't have the test scores. It's just going to be very much focused on that transcript side of things.
Yeah, similarly, our scholarships for merit scholarships go up to around $39,000 a year. We're primarily looking at the information on the transcript. We will not take into account those test scores, even should you say them.
Yeah, two of our biggest scholarships, as I mentioned, we have 13 in-house scholarships and grants, are technically merit-based. So the academic scholarship goes up to $32,000 a year. We have a presidential scholarship that you need a weighted GPA of 3.7 or higher to apply for. That starts at $34,000 a year, goes up to full tuition. But for us, and I assume probably for all of us, it goes back a little bit it can depend on the student as well. So for example, in Washington State, we have the College Bound Scholarship that helps a lot of students. PLU has a 253 PLU Bound Scholarship that if you're college bound eligible, you have a weighted GPA of 3.3 or higher, will fill in the gap to get you to full tuition. So I have had plenty of students that are at a 3.3, 3.4, 3.5 that also have a full ride or even a better financial aid package than students that have like a 4.2. So sometimes it can be need-based as well and what's coming in from the federal and state government. I think the key is with a private university, you never know what money they're willing to give you. And we even sometimes have additional scholarships we can give out just on the strength of the student as far as who they are as a person. We do believe you're more than just your grades. And so for a lot of private universities, you'll find that, you know, there's just multiple scholarships to go for to sometimes make us the affordable choice.
Could you talk a bit more about direct enrollment or direct entry? When I went to college, it was like you entered as a freshman and they wouldn't even let you choose a major for a sophomore year. That seems to not be the case anymore in a lot of schools. So why is that, and what happens if you're not quite sure what you want to do?
So the question is about direct entry, and actually I'll say, with the exception of music, because you probably should be a good musician to major in music, that we actually don't ask you to declare your major to the end of your sophomore year. So you have lots of choices. So we don't have any direct admission, except for music, I think is the exception, which makes a lot of sense for students. But actually a student can come in and change their mind and decide, I'm going to now be a political science major. So I think you'll find that the direct entry, you've heard the word nursing a lot, you've heard the word business a lot, engineering. You just happen to have 3 really amazing schools that have those amazing programs that are on that direct side of things. There's still a lot of places out there that are still very open-ended, but I'm not going to speak for all of you.
I'll just chime in and highlight that I would say when you're talking about direct entry, it's more of a strength and a pro, I would say, as opposed to the other side with direct entry, especially at these more liberal arts institutions, such as kind of like a lot of ours. You'll have that flexibility that Anna was talking about, where you can change your major, come in undeclared, maybe take some prereqs, get into the business school. The highlight of direct entry is that you, if you know you want to do civil engineering, if you know you want to do business analytics, especially if you know you want to do nursing, you have the opportunity to apply directly into that major and into that program, and not just be admitted to the university, but be admitted to that major and that program with the ability to start working towards that degree as early as fall your freshman year. Whereas at some larger universities, you will work really hard and get admitted into the university, and then you might have to take prereqs and then apply into their business school or apply into their nursing school without the guarantee of that spot. Does that make sense?
Saving a seat, basically.
Yeah.
Would echo the same sentiments, especially for nursing. I'm from Colorado, so I know most of the universities that my peers went to. They would apply to like the nursing program. It would be 2 years at that university, and then they'd have to apply to the nursing program, and it was either you were in or you were out. So they had those 2 years, do those prereqs, and then it was uncertain if they'd be in that program or not. So it definitely is an advantage, but I tell students, unless you want to be a neuroscientist, I'd help you out really quick or something intense like that. But if you are unsure about business or computer science and you want to come in undeclared, do classes in multiple different majors and programs your first 2 years. See what you like and then declare professions.
I also
So you
tell
still have this, right? So you're, if you go in undeclared, you then have to apply to get in, or are you still a direct admit into the program your sophomore year?
The only thing I guess you could run into potentially is if you then decide, well, and in my sophomore year, I want to be an engineer and I haven't taken any classes in that, and you may add some time to your program. But you do have that choice to come in undeclared if you choose so, but you might run into that.
We had one question earlier. He was waiting very long. Do you still have it? Or?
Yeah, it was back on the transcripts. So if you have a student that takes AP courses but chooses not to take the tests, does that show up as a red flag on there, or does that matter at all?
I think I can't think of a college that uses AP in the admissions process.
Okay.
And I say that.
This includes session B.
I will finish my sentence.
Session B will begin at 8 o'clock. For your convenience, the session recordings and materials will be available on the college conference page of the Bellevue School District website next week.
So a lot of APs are taken in the senior year, and so you haven't taken those exams yet, which is why most colleges, they might see the scores. I think there's a place to self-report them, but it's not something that we look at. The exception is there are some colleges, I'm going to throw out another term, test flexible, and they might take APs in place of that, but I think you're going to find that's kind of an exception and sort of thing we look at. So I don't know if a student has taken an exam or not, and I think that's.
Yeah. If you're looking to bring credit in, then it's worth taking the exams, but we have a lot of applicants that never bother to take the exams, and we don't look at it. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And there's the